Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. Today we are looking at the Civivi Cubit, and I have to say, this is a knife that I would not have purchased if I only ever looked at stuff online, because it's definitely much too small for me. But I was in S&R Knives over in Toronto, and I was checking out different things, and I picked this up, and it was just so addicting to play with that I had to take it home with me. And I, I had spent a lot of the retail, the salesman's time, and so I kinda, I don't know if you guys have this sensation yourselves, but I kinda felt a little bit of pressure to buy something after I've made him, drag probably 50 different items out of the boxes and out of his display cases. Nonetheless, this is the knife I ended up coming home with, and I have to say, overall, I'm pretty impressed with this. I do think this is a bit of a departure for Civivi. I mean, it's not completely earth-shattering. It's not unlike anything they've ever done, but the aluminum handle is, not what we're typically seeing from them. They do have a bunch of button locks out recently, and this one is a really good example. Now, sadly, I have to say, the thing they picked for marketing is that the blade can be used as a cap lifter. And I don't know, like it's not the 1950s anymore, 80% of the bottles that you're going to open, probably more than that, are going to be screw on or screw off bottles. And so, out of I think this is a great knife, and it can stand on its own. It has good ergonomics. It has good blade seal. It has a good blade shape. The size is really nice for those of you who like smaller stuff. The looks, the design on this is fantastic. And so, why Civivi chose to emphasize the fact that it has a cap lifter is a little odd to me. But I feel like this is one of those knives where their advertising could have been like, you know, 100 of these popping open like this, where it was like pop, 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 because the action is just so great and fidgety and enjoyable that to me, that's the thing that really stands out. The other thing is it's a small knife with a very, very comfortable handle, and I rarely find that to be the case. I'm always complaining with smaller knives that my hand feels cramped and I don't feel like, I can get anything if I have to do something serious where I got a lot of cutting to do, or I'm working in the kitchen, or I'm, you know, getting ready, making feather sticks for a fire or something where I'm going to be holding this knife for a while. I just feel like most small knives are not going to do that comfortably, but this really, really would. And that's to me the big sales pitch on this. It's lightweight. It looks absolutely fantastic. Those bright colors. This one happens to be, of course, the red and black. Anyway, I mean, that's a bit of an aside, and I know I've digressed a little bit, but I feel like there were lots of points about this that were were really, really good and could have been used to promote it, and they picked Caplifter. Now let's get to the knife itself. It is on the small side, especially for my preferences, and possibly, I know a number of you who watch my videos regularly do like smaller knives, but I know some of you who go, "Oh, I like watching Kevin's videos because he tends to feature bigger stuff." Sorry, I'm just going through a little cycle here where I got a bunch of small stuff running through the channel. And this is, of course, one of those things. So look, it's only 7 and 3/16. So normally, I have sort of an 8-inch rule. So, and by the way, so this is my Manix 2 lockback. Uh, I could imagine this in this size, and it would just be so phenomenal. I kind of miss, or I kind of wish that this was a bit bigger because I would be even more enamored with it. And I'm already pretty stinking enamored with it. It's a really, really cool knife. Um, so 7 and 3/16 overall, 3-inch blade. It's actually just a hair under 3 inches, 4 1/4 inches closed, and a nice and light 2.8 ounces. The ergonomics are, to me, again, the big story. For a small knife, this feels absolutely perfect in hand. Now, let me qualify this one more time before kind of moving further. I wouldn't call this, I feel like this is a great EDC knife. It's not, a big, heavy duty tactical type thing. I wouldn't want to put it through a lot of hard use. And that's generally how I feel about most button locks. Button locks, one of the weak points is over time they can wear. Now, Civivi and most people these days are doing a tapered button. Okay, so the the part of the part in the back here that interfaces with the blade is tapered so that as it wears, right, it's allowed to move out a little bit further and sort of take up that wear. Nonetheless, I think there's a limit to that. And so button locks, I don't feel like are going to be a great, like really heavy duty, hard use option because they over time will often develop a little bit of blade play. Most of them that I've had, have not. But again, I know that, and really, I have to say, I have to qualify this again. I know I'm putting a lot of caveats on my comments here, but um, most folding knives are not going to be for hard use. If you start putting, impulse type loads onto the hardware in here, you're going to cause problems. So getting back to the knife itself, all right. Really, great knife. You could carry this, if you're a runner or biker, great for that kind of thing. Very, very corrosion resistant. The materials here are like aluminum and 14C28N on the blade. So that's a huge win. Very slicey, not very imposing. It's almost a cute looking little knife. So now that I've kind of gone through where I think this fits and what I think it's good for, let me hit on the individual details of the knife, beginning with the blade, the way that we normally do. So we have here a 14C28N drop point, almost leaf shaped, right? This is a very Spyderco looking blade. All right. Very thin blade stock. All right. We're talking about, you know, a 16th of an inch, probably, maybe a teeny bit more than that. Let me just show you. Got this nicely finely graduated. Yeah, it might just barely get up to 3/16, but it's quite thin on the blade stock, which is fine for its purpose. Again, this is not like a hard use tactical type of folding knife. It's more of an EDC gear item. So yeah, nice little blade shape, very thin behind the edge and very slicey. Okay, there's this is like kitchen knife type of application. So if you want like a folding paring knife, this is absolutely fantastic. If you're taking the eyes out of your potatoes or something, really really good for that kind of a roll. All right. Anything that's going to be fine, slicey type work, this is really, really going to excel. All right, moving on to, and by the way, black coated blade, but it's sort of a black wash, which I do like more than just a straight up black coating. Over time, yeah, if you use this, it's going to, as soon as you get a couple little scrapes on here, they're going to stand out. That's just the nature of black blades. Some people really like that use over time. They feel like it adds to the look. I don't know. I'm not in love with it. I prefer satin blades mostly for that reason, but this is available in satin as well. So moving on to the action, that's the other big story here. The action on this is just perfect. It is one of the most fidget-friendly knives that I have handled. I regularly find myself walking around the house just deploying this knife. It's a little harder to do on camera, but it's smooth. The detent is perfectly dialed in. The button works really, really well. It doesn't do the thing that a lot of button locks do, where they have a tendency to bounce out at the bottom. This really catches nicely. So, I mean, they've really, really got the action dialed in on this. Let me see if I can give you. I had that Kaiser here. There we go. So here's the Kaiser bag letter XL button lock. And if I don't time it right, there you go. See, I can get that to bounce out and not close all the way. Part of that is just the size of the blade and the size of the knife overall, but this is really, really dialed in to not do that at all. It is on bearings, which is sort of to be expected at this point from Civivi. If you take a look internally, there's no milling on this aluminum, but I mean, aluminum is a nice lightweight material anyway. It does make the design very clean, very straightforward, and I love that kind of thing. Like the look of this knife, to me anyway, is very, very appealing. And I think this has been somewhat popular for Civivi, but I'm surprised this isn't sort of the next Elementum. It's a very clean, minimalist design like the Elementum, and I'm surprised there isn't a little more attention to this. But it is sold out a lot of places, so clearly it's doing okay. Let's see here. What do we got to talk about left? Oh yeah, wanted to touch on the pocket clip, bent over clip. You can see the standoff construction. I'm not gonna. I mean, that's pretty standard. We're used to seeing that. There is a little lanyard post there as well. But look at the way they've done the clip here. Really nice. Just flush and clean. It is milled out on the show side. Now, that's not everyone's going to love that, but I have no problem at all with it. Um, and of course, if you're a lefty, the button is probably, I think I asked this question before, and a couple of lefties said, yeah, a button lock is a little nicer. And I know for my own use, I can easily open and close this either hand. Obviously, to make this a true left-handed knife, the button would need to be on the other side. As it is, I think it's a pretty good option for those of you who are left-handed out there. All right. Let me grab a couple of comparisons. I don't have many, but I do have one knife that I happen to happen to get on the around recently. I picked this up for a really, really good deal, and so because I love the full size Crooked River so much, I thought I'd check this out. These kind of do remind me of each other. You could also put um, a bug out in here and be, you could see how this is maybe a little derivative of the bug out. Although I prefer this, it's the aluminum handle makes it much more substantial, and I find this a lot more comfortable in hand as well. Nonetheless, the mini Crooked River is a little more in my wheelhouse in terms of size. It's quite a bit bigger, but very fidget friendly as well. And it's just sort of a small capable folder that to me kind of fit in the same vein, I guess. Um, I do want to throw in the Real Steel Luna here. This is the Knife Nuts exclusive version in the Jade G10. This is the smallest knife I have that I keep in my collection, and I keep it not because I love the knife so much. I don't. It's a good knife for sure, and it's a cool slip joint that I do carry from time to time, but pretty rarely. I keep it, of course, because it was sent by Levon from Knife Nuts podcast, who I consider to be a good friend. Um, Already had the Mannix in here, but we'll throw it in one more time since lots of you are familiar with that, as well as a full-size Rat Model 1. Again, these represent two things. First of all, they're just knives that everyone is familiar with, but secondly, these represent knives that are a little more in my wheelhouse in terms of size. So there you go. Those are some size comparisons. Let me get those out of the way. And I'll give you my final thoughts. Overall, I think this is a really, really good knife. One of the better things that Civivi has done. And, I like that there's some diversity here. All right. So many knives. And look, I have no problem with G10 liner locks. I have no problem with D2 steel, but there are just so many G10 liner locks in D2 that it's kind of boring at this point. So Civivi changing it up a bit and they've done a few button locks, and all of them are really, really good. And this absolutely has to belong within the sort of group of really nicely done Civivi button locks. And this fits into, there's some great button locks from Kaiser and a few others right now. But this is a really, really good EDC knife. It's not too expensive. The materials are great. The looks are great. There's a lot going for this. Now, obviously for me, this is a little small and I don't find myself carrying it much because of the size, but that I feel a little unfair taking anything away because I know there are tons of people out there who love 3-inch blades. And if you're among those people, I think you'll love this. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check those channel sponsors. It is a huge help despite the really frustrating issues with the border right now. Use that White Mountain Knives discount code, Sharp Stuff. Check out DLT Trading, check out Blade Ops. I think just maybe restrict yourself to fixed blades. And I have to say, DLT Trading has a killer selection of some of my favorite fixed blades, some Hinder fixed blades there that are fantastic, some Bark River stuff there, some White River stuff there. Anyway, lots of DLT seems to really prioritize really well done outdoor fixed blades, so that might be a place to check out. Blade Ops as well. They're going to have a lot of folders, and so hopefully Blade Ops, if you use that affiliate link, that'll be more for my US viewers. Thanks a lot. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. We will talk to you soon.